Okay, hello and welcome to Pixels Plays Spider-Man Miles Morales. We're just gonna, um, this, I'm also using my new headset. Um, Same RTX voice. Actually, I think RTX voice may be actually helping me to some extent because, I mean, I don't know about, uh, Streamlabs OBS, which is what I'm using, but on regular OBS, there was some difficulty with regard to, um, like, um, monitoring audio. Well, heck, monitoring audio. Period. Um, but particularly monitoring audio from the same headset that I'm recording from, and that's kind of bad because that's kind of the whole point. Um, I want to listen to the gameplay while recording. So uh, so the interesting workaround of sorts potentially, if it's actually still a problem, I can't really tell. Is that I'm using NVIDIA RTX voice, which is what the hell's going up on upstairs. Uh, anyway, it RTX voice is technically a separate device. It's drawing from the mic on my headset, but so this might be a good setup potentially to use this new Turtle Beach headset. Um, and granted, I don't like the color as well. I like red, but it's functional, and that's kind of important. So, um, anyway, I'm moving on to Miles Morales. Like I barely started playing the original game, but the fact of the matter is, Miles Morales, from what I've heard, is shorter. So it's also not on the list currently for Patreon stuff. So that's another thing. Uh, but yeah, like it's feasible that I might be able to finish playing it by Thanksgiving-ish. Um, Also, it has apparently has Spider Cat in it. So I mean, what more can you ask for? Now there is a previously on, so my thoughts about whether or not it's going to contain spoilers for the main game is, uh, you know, a little more dubious, but okay. Hopefully this isn't like a major spoiler. Yeah?
Until about a year ago, my life was pretty normal. I lived in the greatest place ever. Brooklyn. Represent. Had two cool parents and loved all things science and superheroes. Everything changed though, when my dad was killed in the City Hall bombing. I couldn't believe he was gone. But Peter Parker and his Aunt May, they were there for me. And so was Spider-Man, who I later found out was Pete. Crazy, right?
Spoilers.
Then when the Devil's Breath crisis started, things got intense. It seemed like all of Spidey's villains were on the loose. I managed to do my part to help him out. And after all that, believe it or not, a spider bit me. And I started to change. I didn't want to worry my mom, so I went to Pete. And now, we're officially Spider Bros. He's been training me up, and I'm actually getting pretty good with this whole web swinging thing. I'm still learning to juggle this responsibility with everything else in my life. School, friends, a new home. I moved to Harlem a few weeks back. But I'll tell you, I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Okay, so it's kind of part of the main game? Huh. So I think, given what my experience from last time, I'm probably gonna at least start on Friendly Neighborhood. Um, and then basically, if it feels like it's a little too easy, I'll go up to Friendly and try not go higher than Friendly, to be honest. But yeah. So we're gonna go headphones, and of course, credit is infidelity. Actually, recently watched the video by Jim Sterling about how he's like, who cares about fidelity? We want 60 frames per second. Now, here's something that I recently thought of. Um, both of these versions have temporal techniques with basically 4K. So, what I'd really like to see, and I'm kind of doubting they're ever going to deliver this, I'd love to see a third option. Because how I would want to deal with this is to basically have free talk, like, not necessarily free toggles. Like, it could still be the, Ellie, no! Damn it, why do you always want to play when I'm start streaming? Like, this happens every freaking time. So, okay, my cat wants to play, obviously, every time. So basically, the way I see it, a reasonably decent way to streamline graphics settings is, for a console player, would be to have effectively free options. And we have fidelity. What? No! Why? What? So, I'm gonna take out my headphones for this technical talk. We get. I wouldn't call it performance. Necessarily. I don't know what I call the mode. But basically, there would effectively be free options, but or free toggles effectively, but they would be boiled down to free overall options. So there's three like aspects of graphics. There's fidelity, which is already here. There's frame rate, which in this case is performance. And then there's resolution. I mean, if you want to call frame rate performance, then go ahead. So my idea would be that effectively all three of these features you're able to basically have two of those features on at once. You know, that would be like the limitation. You could only have two of these things. You get to pick which two. So it would be, you know, fidelity is ray tracing, enhanced lighting, and additional VFX. Performance is, you know, here, you know, it's those features are gone, but it runs at 60 frames per second. And then there's the you know, basically, so you, yeah. So it'd be nice to have a third option where basically you get 60 FPS and ray tracing, enhanced lighting, and additional VFX, but 1080p. Now, I kind of get why they don't do that. Like, there's a couple reasons why they don't do that. One is that, maybe the most obvious is that 4K is this big thing. You know, it's the major selling point of next gen. It's one of the just bonked out. Whatever. You know, so like 4K is this big marketing thing. So I feel like Sony or the powers that be or something was like, why would anyone not want 4K? You know, basically. The other reason, if you know, that's kind of the cynical reason, I guess, would be that they didn't want to, you know, they had to optimize the game for each of these combinations, and it's maybe a fair amount of work to, you know, get the game, you know, man, my sideburn looks like really bushy. Like, it's kind of bugging me. Anyway, it's probably if it can be visible. Um, but like I'm not a game designer, so I couldn't really tell you. Like, one, if it'd be feasible to have a 60 percent, a 60 percent, 60 FPS, 1080p game with like ray tracing and all that stuff. Like, if there would be enough of a you know, a performance increase by lowering the resolution from 4K to 1080p, or even 1440p if you want to like just make this, you know, I don't know. If you want to make it a little bit more than that. Like, I have no idea, like, you know, whether or not it's feasible, like whether or not lowering the resolution to 1080p or 1440 if you want to, you know, get it to the middle of, you know, of the range. I'd imagine that could be the case. But I don't know, like, options are good. It is my point, and so I mean, I guess there's three possibilities. Okay, there's a cynical reason, which is that, you know, that they want to push 4K, and you know, they just feel like, oh, well, you know, what's the point of playing this on the new console if you don't get 4K? The other reason is simply that, you know, it would take a lot more time to properly optimize the game for 3 different settings. I mean, granted, people who develop games for PC have to optimize it for many different graphics cards and many different configurations of systems. So, I mean, this game isn't on PC, but, you know, Insomniac has developed some games that are on PC, like Sunset Overdrive. Like, they aren't inexperienced. So that may or may not be a proper excuse. The other potential reason is that maybe they tried and they just couldn't get it working. Like, they couldn't, you know, get like a 1440 or 1080p, you know, resolution and 60 frames per second. You know, the ray tracing, enhanced lighting, and all that is just too advanced, too much processing power, that even lowering the resolution doesn't have enough of an impact to bring it all the way up to 60, a stable 60 frames per second. 50 frames per second. So anyway, as for me, I prefer fidelity. I prefer the quality of the pixels versus the quantity. Um, in this case, I also have to sacrifice the, but instead I had to here I sacrifice the quality of the frame, or the quantity of the frames versus the quality, and I feel like that may not be the best trade-off. Anyway, also I need to look into okay, so subtitle settings are kind of not quite saved, like they're on. We're gonna make the names red. But I look into the actual. Okay, did my headset automatically turn off? What are you trying to tell me?